How much money do I need to start a coffee shop? Say 2,000 square feet. Prime.
80
Bandra, Lavelle Road, Vasant Kunj.
80 lakhs to a crore.
Yeah?
More, man. I think more. 2,000 square feet?
Yeah, it depends how fancy you want it to look.
Subko's 2 crores.
Yeah, 1.5 crore, I would say at least. Yeah.
That's doable though.
Yeah, but it could be done also, like, it depends. If you're not, don't get the best equipment, like get lower kind of equipment, it could be done even for less.
But you look at a place like Goa's example again, Grind Bar. They've got a decent machine, they've got a linear mini. They've not spent too much on doing it up, but it's done very nicely though.
Yeah, super nice coffee shop.
Yeah.
What is this
Super nice coffee.
between Arabica and Robusta in India? Do we grow more Robusta than Arabica? And why is Arabica better than Robusta?
Me, Matt? Matt, you first?
Tastes better. I mean, that's a simple answer.
Then why do
has
we grow more
flavor.
Robusta?
Because India doesn't have the altitude that other countries have. So most of the coffee growing areas are at a lower altitude where Robusta does better than Arabica.
Yeah, and interestingly, what's been viewed as like a disadvantage in the past when it comes to Robusta being more prominently and successfully grown at a high standard in India and Vietnam, which are I believe, still the 2 biggest producers, today. With the effects of climate change kicking in, there are a lot of theories that say that India might emerge a winner because the taller altitude growing regions will get hotter, which will make Arabica less and less viable. So theoretically, that means that Robusta can withstand more heat at lower altitudes. And so it could be an interesting opportunity for Indian Robusta in the future. But I think what's interesting about India is that you actually have like multiple species of coffee growing in the same region. So you have Arabica, you have Robusta, you even have a species that's kind of a hybrid of the two in some sense called Excelsa, there's Liberica. So I think that makes India quite unique because a lot of other growing nations don't have that amount of diversity.
Is sustainability still an angle? If I start a coffee shop, and say I'm the most sustainable in every element, will I attract an audience?
You will attract an audience, but it's niche. I don't think that can't be the backbone of it.
It can't? Okay, I'm going to ask you some really specific questions, okay? We did some research online. Steps to start a coffee shop. Ignoring the generic stuff like define your concept, target audience, market research, how to estimate costs, secure funding, all of that. Can I ask you specifically where I would go about hiring? I need 10 people to work. A barista, servers, this, that, and the other. Where do I hire them?
Any competition.
From them.
How do I find your employees to hire?
You can just walk into a store.
Walk into a Blue Tokai, Subko and ask them?
Yeah.
What's a typical pay scale like?
Is there not like a barista school or something that you can reach out to get trainees?
They've trained them, just take from them.
You can just post on LinkedIn and people, like it's an industry where people will switch companies for a relatively low increase in pay.
What's a typical pay starting?
Anywhere from 21 up to 28K a month.
8-hour shift.
8-hour shift, 5 days a week.
But I'd say that bracket is rapidly increasing because I think increasingly baristas are falling into more of the categorization that an expert kind of a cocktail
Mixologist, yeah.
a mixologist would be than a typical maybe server would be. So there's this whole new categorization, I think, with mixologists and baristas that's kind of being formed. So that's an interesting phenomenon as well. And I do think that pay scale is increasing. And so all of these things impact kind of the premiumization of the segment that's happening and the costs that have to be passed on.
Is there a size you guys have realized by virtue of experience that works? Should a coffee shop be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 square feet?
1,000.
1,000? Yeah?
1,000, huh? You'd say including a kitchen?
We don't have kitchens, so for us
that's
it's
true.
1,000.
Why is that?
2,000, the capex becomes too large to fit it out. And and the incremental revenue is not justifying the increase in rent as well. Below 800, then tables become occupied and people don't want to wait for a coffee shop. Though if they see it's full, they'll just go to somewhere else.
Okay. Is there something that you would like to recommend in terms of equipment? Now I'm assuming I've decided to open a coffee shop. I have 1-2 crore rupees that I've borrowed. I've found the space in... Any recommendation in terms of finding the space? What areas tend to do well?
The areas you think would do well, the higher density areas, definitely the place that has a mix of office plus residential. Pure office, then you get limited to only 5 days a week business. Night business is very low, but you still have to pay the same rental. Pure residential is also can work, but you need very good catchment, dense catchment. But if you were to think of, I mean, for us, tends to be the posher areas where rents are above a certain threshold, where
Parking?
parking is not necessarily a requirement.
No? Don't most people drive to a coffee shop?
Depends. Like in Bombay, our stores have very little parking and still, but delivery share is also higher in Bombay, and that helps balance it.
What share of business is delivery? I'm assuming when a coffee travels with a delivery guy, it doesn't reach the client at optimum temperature.
Yeah. But people are willing to have that trade-off for the
They'll
convenience
microwave
of
it.
it.
I microwave when I order.
Yeah. Even like a cappuccino will never come with foam on it, but people accept that. We're at 35% of the revenue is delivery.
Is that the same for you?
In terms of the results on the,
In terms of how much revenue is delivery and how much is in-store?
not quite as high. I think
Lesser?
delivery is lesser still for us. 20%. Yeah.
In terms of machinery, now I found a space. I've done my fit out. I've spent 9,000 bucks a square feet. It's a 1,000 square feet store. Now I need to buy equipment. To make craft coffee and be commercially viable and make money from this project, what equipment should I buy?
God, there's such a big range.
What equipment do you guys buy?
I think we would.
We buy them from the same similar
Similar.
brands. La Marzocco. I think you also have all La Marzocco. We have La Marzocco.
You have a Slayer, no? At
We do have, yeah.
Kamath.
Couple of different machines, but yeah.
But it's also it becomes a signal. It's not to say on a cheaper machine you can't produce good quality coffee. I think the variability is much higher on a lower quality machine. So the consistency won't be the same. You'll have to have much better baristas who are able to operate that equipment to get the same consistency.
So who should I buy it from?
They're distributors, so they have distribution agreements with like.
And your service is dependent on which distributor you use?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anyone you guys would like to recommend?
Matt.
We've been
It'll
working
give him
with
some business.
this 3-1 Engineering. It's a small company, and the owner is very actively involved.
And they do a good job?
Yeah, we've been working with them for a year. I mean, so actually we used to import them directly and do the servicing ourselves, and then we've transitioned to buying from him.
Is there no Indian brand doing this, making coffee machines?
No.
Please don't buy any Indian coffee machine if you come
Why?
across it.
They've tried for, especially on the automatic side, a couple people have tried.
Why didn't it work?
Quality and consistency is not comparable to the equivalent Chinese or European manufacturers.
That takes us to China.
Yeah.
What all can I learn as a 25-year-old or buy from China or learn from China if I'm starting a tonic, soda, ginger ale, kombucha, coffee brand? What can I use from China?
So a couple of things. When we went from from a zero to manufacturing at a slightly larger scale than that, there were a couple of options available for us in terms of bottling machines, right? Filling machines, so to say. There were some Indian options available. There were some Chinese option available and the American options available. Indian options were cheap. Chinese options looked the best and were cheap. American options were straight up expensive.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So your eye automatically goes to getting Chinese machine. Through experience on some front and through talking to a lot of people in the industry, they say please don't get a Chinese machine, because now on hindsight we realize this, that The smaller segment machines, you have to baby them a lot, regardless of whom you get the machine from. Even
Talking about
even
kombucha machine.
a carbonated beverage bottling line, the broader pressure, temperature, all of this plays a very, very important role in how that machine is going to function consistently. Is it going to give you the speeds at which you want to manufacture? I would say my recommendation is start small, get a machine from the nearest person that's available who will reach you immediately if there is an issue, and then maybe move on to larger, more important machines or American machines. I would refrain from getting something from China because service becomes a very big problem. Though they're very prompt with service, and most things are solved over a call. But if you need a spare part, it always needs to be imported. It becomes really, really challenging. So to start off with, until you understand the process, until you understand the product, I would say work with a local smaller manufacturer. Even if the machine is not good, you will figure out a way to learn about the product and learn about the machine enough for you to be able to operate it and get to a particular scale after which you can invest.
Couple of things. Learning, I think, on a product standpoint, learn from the US. Look at a website like a BevNet that does every beverage story and learn so much on trends from there. See what's happening in Japan, see what's happening in South Korea. Those are markets to really look at. On an equipment thing, because India has so much pharma and all of that, we have enough suppliers here for everything. Good quality guys. So we use all local stuff. This quality and all is not an issue. Service is not an issue. So on beverage manufacturing, we have enough options here. We have a Hymek line. Hymek engineers pretty good.
Hymek is pretty good.
Yeah.
He's known to be reliable. He's been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah, they do bigger plants for
Yeah.
bigger bottlers.
Hymek is really good. Expensive, but very good.
If I were to ask you both a question, don't name yourself. If you had to go to a coffee shop in India, which is neither Blue Tokai or Subko, which is your favorite?
Quick Brown Fox is the Delhi company that I go to.
Yeah? Quick Brown Fox. It's only in Delhi?
Yeah.
Rahul?
Damn.
There's a fun one. I can't wait to hear what you say. So tough, huh?
On the spot, dude. I mean, there's a bunch
What a
of
guy.
names coming up.
Wow.
I recently had a very good pour over from a brand in Bandra called Grey Soul.
Grey Soul.
Grey Soul, yeah. Nice pour overs.
Zero vibe though.
Yeah, I mean, no comment on that, but
Yeah.
good pour over coffee. A lot of good shops in Gujarat that have opened up, surprisingly.
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't expect in like
Which
Surat.
one? I'm going to Ahmedabad this week.
No, yeah, in Ahmedabad there's a couple. There's
Which one?
There's
Tell
one
me
from
one.
K that
This Meraki is good.
Meraki is good. Yeah.
So many smaller towns. Nagpur has such a good coffee scene.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Corridor 7 in Nagpur.
Corridor 7 is killing it.
Korebi, was that the one in
That's
in
Delhi.
Ahmedabad?
That's in Delhi, I think.
That's
Anything
not
in
Ahmedabad?
Bangalore?
Korebi coffee?
Yeah, Bangalore-wise, I guess. Ground up.
I mean,
Roundabout is
Nurlu
good.
does that
Venki-
multi-roaster. I think
Venki is
that's,
good.
Who's that?
That Nurlu Cafe. They do
Nirlu, yeah.
multi-roaster.
Nirlu's quite popular. Ground Up, they actually have a coffee estate, and we actually work with sourcing coffee from them as well, called Salavara, and they also have their
Nice coffee shop in
Coffee shop.
Janagar.
They're quite nice.
On Double Road, on the Ashoka Pillar Road. Nice shop.
You say for kombucha?
I actually like Umami Brew from Pune. That's a nice brand. It's a good brand. I like that brand. Yeah. They make nice kombucha.
I discovered them at Izumi.
Oh, you did. Nice.
See, that's the thing what you said, right? A lot of your discovery for beverages will happen at a Horeca, at a Izumi or something like that. And it makes a big difference when you try the product at a well-established restaurant or a cafe.
You can't do that for coffee, right?
You rely too much on the person who's brewing it.
Yeah.
And in most places, coffee is seen as okay, I invested in the machine. Any random person can make the coffee. They're not going to put the same care and effort that a coffee shop would.
And for, they call this category NAB or NAD, right? Non-alcoholic.
Non-alcohol. There's, in India, I would drink a Fever Tree happily. That's
What is it?
available
Say
there.
again?
Fever Tree. Fever Tree is the UK-based company. They're in India now, publicly listed. A good stock to see, by the way, just to understand the consumption. And globally, there's a brand actually that I've not tried all the products of, but for me is a very interesting study to see their products, is a brand from Australia called Strange Love.
Yeah.
Very cool product.
Superb Instagram page.
Yeah.
Superb content overall.
But in the product,
Just amazing.
like the stuff
Yeah.
they've done, beautiful.
Yeah.
Content plays a big role in all of this, right?
100%. Yeah.